Normal looking photos that have a disturbing backstory, part 16. The man dressed as Santa Claus is Bruce MacArthur. Over 7 years, he would lure men through a dating app, murder them, and spread their remains in planters boxes. This painting, called Christina's World, seems like a normal girl laying in the grass. However, Christina suffered from a debilitating disease that left her unable to walk, so she crawled everywhere and lived a pretty grim life. This photo shows a prisoner of war returning from Vietnam being greeted by his wife and kids. However, the day he was released, the wife sent him a Dear John letter, meaning that she had found another man while he was in prison. Alan Harubi, a freshman at the University of Oklahoma, murdered his entire family in 2014. The next day, he drove down to Dallas for an OU Texas football game, where he took this picture in a hotel room with his friend. It can be assumed from this Instagram post that he was trying to hide his identity. However, he quickly confessed and received multiple life sentences. This photo shows Jesse McBain and his girlfriend Patricia Mann on their way to a Valentine's Day dance. When they failed to return to their dorms, their roommates called the police, who found their bodies tied up in the woods 3 days later. They had been tortured and died side by side. What seems like a cheerful teenager is actually 17-year-old Jeff Franklin, who had just used a hatchet and a sledgehammer to murder both of his parents and injure several of his siblings in 1998. In 1904, 24-year-old OC was giving birth in her mother's home. Her mother actually hated her and drugged OC on morphine and forced her to stay in bed. She then administered a lethal overdose and told doctors that she had died in childbirth to collect the insurance money, worth over $850,000. This photo shows police carrying serial killer and cannibal Jeffrey Dahmer's refrigerator into a van. Dahmer killed and cut up over 17 boys, and you can tell the police are quite disturbed by what's in the fridge. This is YouTuber Sarah Funk, who was vlogging her trip to Cyprus's Red Lake. The suitcase in the water was actually discovered to contain the body of a 12-year-old girl who was murdered by a serial killer. At $1.5 million, this is one of the most valuable violins in the world. The initials WH stand for Wallace Hartley, who was the lead violinist aboard the Titanic. This was the instrument he played the night the ship sank before Wallace himself died. This is Jimmy Savile, a famous DJ who was even knighted by the Queen of England. However, he was a pedophile who raped over 300 children at the hospitals he ran, and he even raped their dead bodies. A couple was staying at an underwater cabin at the Manta Resort. This photo shows Steven proposing to his girlfriend through the cabin window. She said yes, but when she waited for her fiancé to return, he never made it out of the water and drowned. While some people may find clowns frightening, they're still normal. This photo shows John Wayne Gacy, or Pogo the Clown, who was a convicted serial killer and rapist in the 1970s. Gacy was convicted of sexually assaulting and murdering over 30 boys and became known as the Killer Clown. This security cam shows two 10-year-old boys abducting 3-year-old James Berger in a mall in England. The two boys took him on a 2.5-mile walk and tortured him in ways that I will not mention, leaving his body on a railroad track. This photo was found on a damaged camera that had gone to the washing machine at the home of Travis Alexander. His girlfriend held him at gunpoint and then shot him to death after the photo was taken. She took many other photos. This girl is Tereska, who grew up in a Nazi concentration camp and lived in a home for disturbed children after World War II. When asked to draw what home looks like, she drew this sporadic tunnel of lines. This photo shows the Russian ambassador to Turkey, Andrei Karlov, who's doing a conference at an art gallery. The man standing behind him is about to assassinate him. This photo was found on the camera of two vacationers who were swept away by the 2004 tsunami, which claimed the lives of over 240,000 people. The man who took the photograph of this bear is Darsh Patel, a 22-year-old who went hiking with some friends. Shortly after taking it, he was killed by the same bear. This picture was taken by the crew of a ship who saw this 11-year-old girl floating on a disintegrating float. Her whole family was murdered on a sailboat by the hired captain who left her to drown on the sinking boat. She drifted for 4 days with no food, no water, and sunlight beating on her skin. When the captain heard she survived, he killed himself. This photograph was taken by Rodney Alcala, the dating game murderer. No one knows who this woman is, not even Rodney. He killed over 130 women and claims that this one was just lost among the shuffle. While this appears to be an ordinary group of people eating ice cream and playing music, it is actually a group of officers at the concentration camp Auschwitz during the Holocaust. This is Sheila Frederick, a flight attendant. She noticed that a terrified girl was accompanied by an older man, so she left a note in the bathroom on which the victim wrote that she needed help. She contacted the police, who saved her from a human trafficker. The Soviet Union actually used to airbrush people out of photos when they fell out of favor with the leadership. While this photo may appear to be of a little girl holding her younger sibling, it is actually of Lena Medina, the youngest girl to ever give birth, who had her son in Peru in 1939, after she was sexually assaulted at the age of 5. This is former NBA player Mark Jackson's basketball card. In the background are the Menendez brothers. They're sitting courtside shortly after killing their parents and just before getting arrested. The 17-year-old who took this photo told his family members that he planned to hike the stairway to heaven. He texted multiple pictures before his disappearance, and shortly after, the family noticed a man in this photo. While this photo may seem like an ordinary picture of footprints in the sand, they actually belong to a 4-year-old little girl who shortly after this photo was taken, drowned in the ocean. The two brothers in this photo are at Sequoia National Park. This photo was taken moments before they were both struck by lightning, and both shockingly survived. There was a tradition in Victorian England to take photos of dead people, often dressed in their best clothes, and pose as if they were taking a family portrait. If you look at this photo for long enough, you'll notice something is a little off about one of the children.